ABC is a computer company. The profit gained in euros from selling the products X is represented by the polynomial function f of x equals x cubed take away 25x squared plus 200x plus 400. Using the function, calculate the profit when 15 computers are sold. Right, so in the question, the products, which are the computers, are represented by the value of x. And we are asked to find the profit when 15 computers are sold. This basically means, what would the profit be when x equals 15? All we have to do is substitute 15 into the value of x that we have in the function and solve. So we take f of 15 equals x to the power of 3 is 15 to the power of 3. Take away 25 multiplied by x, which is 15 to the power of 2, plus 200 multiplied by x, which is 15, plus 400. Now plugging that onto the calculator, we will get a value of 1,150 euros. Right, so what does that mean? It means when the company sells 15 computers, they will gain a profit of 1,150 euros. We have solved the first part of the question. Now, moving on to the second part. Calculate the number of computers that must be sold to generate a profit of 5,400 euros. Right, so this time we are not looking for the profit, we are looking for the number of computers. So we are looking for the value of x, okay, that will generate a profit of 5,400 euros. In other words, they're saying when f of x equals 5,400, what would the value of x be? We have to set the function x to the power of 3 take away 25x squared plus 200x plus 400 as equal to 5,400. And we have to solve for x. So let's subtract both sides of the equation by 5,400. Let's evaluate these two. Right, so 400 take away 5,400 is negative 5,000. And now we solve for x. Let's simplify using the method of factorization. We factor out x squared from these two values. Now we factorize these two values by finding the least common multiple. Now let's try dividing both of those values by 200. Now 200 divided by 200 is 1, and negative 5,000 divided by 200 is negative 25. Notice that these two brackets are the same. It is only when we see that we proceed with a factorization. Now, let's combine these two values together. X squared plus 200 multiplied by x take away 25 multiplied by x take away 25 equals 0. And now we solve for x. Let's start with this bracket over here. X squared plus 200 equals 0. Let's subtract 200 from both sides of the equation. X squared equals negative 200. Now we stop right here because in order to solve x, we have to take the square root of both sides. And this is impossible. We cannot take the square root of a negative number. So here we have no solution. Let's look at these two brackets over here. X take away 25, x take away 25 equals 0. We do not need to expand these two brackets. We can solve them separately. X take away 25 equals 0, x take away 25 equals 0. X equals 25, x equals 25. We have found our answer, 25. Now what does that mean? This means the company must sell 25 computers in order to generate a profit of 5,400 euros. And to make sure that our answer is correct, we take f of 25 and plug that onto the calculator. F of 25 equals 25 to the power of 3. Take away 25 multiplied by 25 to the power of 2 plus 200 multiplied by 25 plus 400. If we plug that onto the calculator, we will get a value of 5,400. A jeweler is looking to see his potential profit from selling his new collection of golden watches. He found the function that represents the profit f of x from selling watches x, given the function. Using the function, calculate the profit when 13 golden watches are sold. Right, so the watches are represented by the value of x. This question is, in other words, saying, what would the profit be? What would the profit f of x be when x equals 13? So we must take f of 13 and plug the number of 13 wherever we have x. So x to the power of 3 is 13 to the power of 3. Take away 20 multiplied by 13 to the power of 2 plus 1,000 multiplied by 13, take away 10,000. Plugging that onto the calculator yields 1,817 euros. Now we must interpret our results. This means that when he sells 13 watches, his profit will be 1,817 euros. We have solved the first part of the question. Let's move on to the second one. Calculate the number of watches that must be sold to generate a profit of 10,000 euros. Right, so here we're not looking for the profit. We are looking for the number of watches. We are looking for the value of x. How many watches must he sold to generate a profit of 10,000 euros? So we must set the equation as equal to 10,000 and solve for x. So here we have our profit being set as equal to the function. Now let's solve for x by subtracting 10,000 from both sides of the equation. Let's compute. Negative 10,000 take away 10,000 is negative 20,000. And now we simplify the function using the method of factorizing. Now the least common multiple between these two values is x squared. The least common multiple between these two values is 1,000. So we take 1,000 out. Negative 20,000 divided by 1,000 is 20. Notice that these two brackets are the same. It is only when we see that we proceed with a factorization. Let's combine these two values. X squared plus 1,000, and all our other brackets are written. Now, let's solve for the values of x, starting with these brackets over here. X squared plus 1,000 equals 0. Let's subtract 1,000 from both sides of the equation. Let's take the square root of both sides of the equation. But we stop right here because we see a negative sign inside the square root. And that is no solution. We cannot take the square root of a negative number. So we do not have a solution from this bracket. Let's look at these two. X take away 20 multiplied by x take away 20 equals 0. Now we do not have to expand them. We do not have to multiply each value by each value. We can just solve for them separately. So x take away 20 equals 0, x take away 20 equals 0. Adding 20 to both sides of the equation, x equals 20, x equals 20. We have found our answer, 20. Now what does that mean? It means that the jeweler must sell 20 watches in order to generate a profit of 10,000 euros. And we can check our answer by plugging f of 20 into the function. Plugging that onto the calculator will yield 10,000 euros. That's how we know we answered correctly. Now moving on to the final part of the question. Compute how much more profit will he make from selling 14 watches in comparison to selling 13 watches. Right, so here we're trying to find the difference between selling 14 watches and selling 13 watches. We have to take f of 14, take away f of 13. F of 14, we substitute 14 into the value of x. Plugging that onto the calculator yields 2,824 euros. Taking f of 13, we already have that value, and that is 1,817 euros. Now, let's find the difference between these two values. F of 14, which is 2,824, take away f of 13, which is 1,817. That is 1,007 euros. So he will be making 1,007 euros more when he sells 14 watches in comparison to selling 13 watches.